What up? This is Rama Screen, and in the anticipation of Lansky, which arrives in select theaters and on demand June 25, and also The Ice Road, which arrives on Netflix June 25, I'm here talking with the score composer of both these new films, Max Aruj. How are you, Max?
I'm very well. How are you? Thanks for having me, Rama.
Good. Congratulations. Thank you for taking the time. How does it feel to have both your works coming out in the same weekend? I mean, most artists would be lucky to have even just one work being released to the general public. I mean, you've got two at the same time. How does it feel?
It feels really good. I put in so much into both projects, and they were supposed to be more separated. And then
Oh,
one day I just realized that, oh, wait a minute, they're both coming out June 25th. And it was a surprise. It wasn't supposed to be like that. So I said, fantastic. What a way to kind of start the middle of the year, the the middle part of the year. So I'm really honored to have that.
I'm curious. So, which one was supposed to be coming out later?
Ice Road was supposed to be August. I heard
Oh,
August was the plan for the longest time. And then Lansky, we were waiting. And then I just heard June, July, and then June was decided on. And then got an email from the Ice Road producer one day, and he said, "Oh yeah, June 25th." And then it was that's just how it went down.
that's so cool. Let's start with Lansky. I'm a big fan of gangster flicks. I understand that you've worked with writer director Aiton Rockaway prior to this, correct?
Yes, I've worked with Aton on
Aiton.
his movie The Abandoned.
Yes. So was that previous working relationship that led Aiton to wanting you to come back and score Lansky as well? And are you slowly but surely becoming Aiton's muse, just like the team up of Steven Spielberg and John Williams?
Well, I would hope so. That would be the ideal situation. But absolutely. And The Abandoned was 5 years ago around. And you just grow so much as a musician and a person over that time. And then by the end of this project, Eitan and I, we had grown so much closer. And yeah, it's just that time it takes to build a good relationship. And then, we'll work together on the next stuff, which he's been telling me about as well. But it's very exciting.
Talk to me about some of the musical instruments and some of the palettes that you incorporated for to capture Lansky's nostalgia and sentimentality, because this film is filled to the brim with moments of self-reflection and self-acknowledgement.
Yes, from the beginning, Eitan wanted to use these 80s Vangelis colors since most of the stories being told from the 80s, as with Harvey Keitel as an older man looking back. And then we also wanted to incorporate symphonic instruments and combine those two elements together, because doing so, we would hopefully have a little bit of a sound world that's kind of foreign and unusual, hence the synth colors. But like you said, with these deep dramatic moments and these really intimate conversations, having strings, and we also recorded some solo strings for this, it seemed like the right marriage of colors to get that really emotional quality we wanted to get.
You mentioned the 80s. Okay, so there are two timelines, right? In the past, the rise to power of Lansky, and then the 80s, the old man Lansky. So
There we go.
in your conversation with Aiton, did you have to create separate kind of music to capture both timelines, or was there some sort of a cohesion between the two?
That's a great question. At first, we thought, oh, we'll do only 80s in the 80s, and then only orchestra in the past, or at least that was spoken about. But that wasn't the right approach. It's often that academic approach, which seems kind of the right way to approach it. But in reality, you want a smooth story to be told. And it seemed more appropriate to create a sound rather than separating the two time periods. And we got the best result that way.
I also read that you included Jewish sounds and Jewish music in your score as well to reflect Lansky's Jewish roots. Was that something that you had to extensively research on? Talk to me about that.
I'm a Jewish person myself, so the kind of the sound of Jewish music and Jewish history and culture is something that I'm familiar with and that I've been studying throughout my life. So I didn't necessarily have to do tons of research since I was already acquainted with the world,
Mm.
but finding that right tone and that right sound was tough. Even though I am Jewish, so I ended up working with awesome singer Yaniv Joshua Hoffman, and he recorded this beautiful melody and this beautiful tune. and it seemed to evoke just the right feeling of this yearning for the homeland, and that was the goal there, to evoke this Jewish tonality, if you will.
When we talk about gangster movies, of course, Godfather showed up in mind, Scarface, and all these, great Scorsese, Goodfellas. Um,
Yes.
so throughout the years, we're accustomed to that kind of style, that kind of tone, that kind of music that comes with it. Uh, what did you do to kind of separate your music from what is already done in the genre of gangster movies?
Yes, I mean, yeah, when you look at a movie like Godfather and Goodfellas, you think it's just the holy grail of filmmaking, and especially of mob movie making. Um, I think the '80s approach was something that we really wanted to decide to set us apart, and not be, super operatic like The Godfather in its instrumentation. However, I'd like to think that with the use of strong themes, we still retain that grandiose construction, which I think can only be done with melodies that recur throughout the movie and in different guises throughout his life. So I think the '80s colors, but still married with the classic theme construction. That was our goal, to be unique and tell a story.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's switch gears now to The Ice Road. I've already watched this movie. So much fun.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
This is an action film with lots of pulse pounding moments and sequences and truck chases. I never thought in my million years in my whole life that truck chase scenes could be thrilling, but man, you guys did it. And it's such an exciting film. So in your conversations with Jonathan Hensley, what were the stuff that he said to you that he wanted you to create with the music for this film?
He During my first conversation with him, he was very clear. He wanted a melody that we would be hearing throughout the film. He wanted it to be fun. It needed to hit the action. So basically, it needed to do everything a good action score needed to do. We need to have themes. The music needs to shift when it needs to shift, when there's kind of, the tides have turned, or someone takes the upper hand, and we need it to be excited. It needed to sound big, and especially talking to producers, they and the whole team, they want their movie that they've been working on for years. They want it to sound and feel and look big, like a big Hollywood action movie. So you basically just have to do everything.
So talk to me. Does that mean more emphasis on horns, more emphasis on synthesizer? What is it?
It can be anything, as
Mm.
long as there's a depth to the music and that the dynamics are there, so that you feel, whether it be a full orchestra or, 100 synths, people need to be playing at the top of their lungs, so that the the intensity of the music and the expression matches these images of, an avalanche and of this beautiful landscape there on the ice. So the sound needs to match the images.
This might be a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm curious. We all know when composing a score, you'd usually come up with character themes. And so, is there a theme for the trucks, or at least for those chase scenes?
There is a main theme slash hero theme which is used throughout the film. So
Okay.
this theme, you hear it in the first bit of the movie when the shots of the ice start, and then you hear it during heroic moments and during general moments in the movie. So that theme I hope to use throughout. And so I would say that would also be the trucks theme. However, during a lot of these action sequences, it felt better to have a kind of a more action pulse pound oriented theme, because when sometimes the characters aren't winning, there needed to be a theme or vibe that was more about tension rather than selling our main theme.
I guess my final question is, so having started doing additional music for other composers and other films, and then you went on to compose score for a lot of short films over the past decade, and then graduated to composing scores for TV and movies. Looking back, what would you have done differently, or do you think that is generally the road that an aspiring composer has to take in order to get to where you are in your career?
I think no, I wouldn't change anything, because working for Lorne, for all those years, it was just the best thing I could have done. because you just learn so much and you're just drilled constantly. You're like in a boot camp basically. And I think these days there's different ways to get in there and get movies. However, I think working on so many different types of projects and trying so many different things, hopefully these insecurities are practiced and you work through them, and it's just practice. And I think working for some of the best in my opinion, Lauren, is it's the best thing you can do,
Final
and
question.
fun and fun.
Final question. What's next on your horizon? What are you developing next?
What am I developing next? I'm working on a documentary right now
Cool.
with director Emily Carlson, and it's about the election actually. So that's in progress right now. That's my main one, and I will keep you posted when that's coming out. But they're still during the editing process. They've got a ways to go.
All right. For my fans at home, everybody go check out Lansky, arriving in select theaters and on demand June 25, and also The Ice Road, arriving on Netflix June 25. Max, thank you for talking to me and congratulations.
Thanks, Rama.